Okay, albums coming out on Friday, the 27th of September 2024. Number one on this list, probably the most hyped band in Britain. We're going to start with Harriet, the band from Swindon, who finally released their debut album, and it's going to be called Devoured by the Mouth of Hell. And they've signed to Century Media. So I reviewed their 2022 Profound Morality EP, which won numerous plaudits, and they certainly went down well on the live festival circuit as well around that time. And they were signed to Church Road Records back then. So fast forward 2 years later, they've landed a deal with one of the biggest heavy metal labels in the world. And I would say their music really is for fans of Code Orange, Vane FM, Botch, bands like that. Some of you will probably know them for the female vocalist and guitarist Debbie Goff as well, who gets a lot of press, understandably so, great musician. So yes, this is going to be one of the most talked about albums of the year. So it's Harriet, Devoured by the Mouth of Hell, released via Century Media. And the key question, will they be able to live up to expectations? They certainly got a lot of people's attention, and let's hope that this does deliver the goods. Number two on this list, we're going to go to Portland, Oregon. Another band that I'm familiar with, Bewitcher, and this album is called Spell Shock. So this is another one released by Century Media. It's their fourth album since forming in 2013, I think it was when they formed. Again, I reviewed their 2021 album, Cursed Be Thy Kingdom. Blackened speed metal, we know what to expect, don't we? There's going to be a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor, a lot of 1980s pre-thrash metal type riffing, so they're very much into their Motorhead and Venom and bands of that ilk, and then they'll also bring in a modern day black metal edge to that as well. Probably the one album on this list that will deliver a sense of fun, even though there will be an underlying tension to it and darkness. So that's Bewitcher and Spell Shock. Number three, the biggest name on this list, the Black Dahlia Murder, and they've come back with a new album called Servitude. You're thinking, how do these legends of contemporary death metal have a new album? Trevor Sternad killed himself in 2022. What's going on? So founding guitarist Brian Eschbach is now the vocalist in place of the late Trevor Sternad, rest in peace, who unfortunately took his own life 2 years ago. I wasn't really keen on their 2020 album, Verminous. It was a bit of a disappointment for me, a 5 out of 10 record. So this is actually going to be the 10th album of their career. Everybody's going to be looking at this. There's going to be so much goodwill, and I just hope they can deliver. And this is released via Metal Blade, who have been their long-time label support over the years. So good to see that they're back. How's it actually going to pan out? Number four, we're going to stay with death metal. We're going to stay in the United States, and we're going to the band Ripped to Shreds, and they have a new album out called Sanchi. This comes out via Relapse Record. It's the fourth album of their career. Their last album, Dubium, standard 6 out of 10 record for me. These are a band credited with really revitalizing or revivalizing, that's not a word, is it? Reviving with either revitalizing or revising. I've still got that wrong. Anyway, they're credited as one of the bands at the head of the new wave of old school death metal, so that great paradoxical genre title. These really are associated with it, especially their frontman Andrew Lee, who is also the vocalist and guitar player and multi-instrumentalist in numerous other death metal and grindcore projects. Number five, we're going to go in more of a doom direction now. We're going to Belgium, specifically to the city of Mechelen, and the band is called Marche Funèbre. I hope I've pronounced that correct. The album is called After the Storm, and this is released via Ardua Music. This is album number 5. They're one of those bands that are considered legends in their homeland and not necessarily as well known outside the Benelux countries. So let's give them a listen. And they've been around for a good few years as well. We're going to stay with Death Doom, and the 6th choice on this record, a German band called Epic Down, and the record is called Days of Oblivion. It's released via Argonauta Records. It's actually a debut album from this band following the release of 2 EPs in 2023. There's more of a sludge metal angle to this Death Doom. style of music. Number 7, we're staying with Argonauta Records and we're staying with doom metal as well. You're probably thinking, Kirk, why is this list going to be so cumbersome and so miserable? That's just the way it falls. There's so many bands in this genre that are releasing records this week, and I do happen to like this genre. So these are called Endonymous, and the album is called Endonymous 2 Enlightenment. They're from Austria, and you can tell from the album title that this is their sophomore album. They were formed in 2021. Okay, number 8. This is the last time I promise that we're going to stay within this domain. It's an English band called Swamp Coffin, and the album is called Drowning Glory. They're from Rotherham, England, part of APF Records. I reviewed their 2021 LP, Noose Almighty. Enjoyed the record as well. I would say your classic 7 out of 10 further. And yeah, let's see what they can produce. I think this is their 3rd album. I'm sure Noose Almighty was a sophomore release. So yeah, Drowning Glory. And that comes out on Friday the 27th of September. Right, number 9, let's move over to black metal, Poland specifically, and the band is Arcona, and the album is called Stella Pandora. It's released via Debemer Morty Productions, that's the label of Bloodhouse North. And they've been around since 1993. They released their debut in 1996. This is the 8th LP of their career, and there's only one founder member left. There's a big gap in their discography between 2003 to 2013 where they didn't release any new material, but they didn't split up, so they didn't even announce a hiatus. So yeah, you're probably thinking they've been around since 1993. How can this only be the 8th album of their career? I suppose it's a rhetorical question. If you tried to keep a black metal band alive, well, you've also got commitments in life and various other things going on that you need to do to survive. So I've always got respect for any black metal group that's still going now and have never tasted a major label contract or any success, when that genre broke out and almost conquered the mainstream in the early 2000s. So the 10th choice on this list, we're going to go back to Austria, and this is the band Oceans, and the album's called Happy, which I imagine is an ironic title. So these are a post-metal meets metalcore band. They're signed to Nuclear Blast. 2022's album, Hell Is Where the Heart Is, to me, that was a grave disappointment. But I did enjoy the 2021 EP, We Are Not Okay, and that featured Rob Flynn of Machine Head on one of the tracks as well. So this is their 3rd album. The reason I've put this as number 10 is I am a fan of the band, and because the last album was so disappointing, I want them to succeed. I hope that this is going to be heavier and it's going to have more of the post-metal rather than the new metal and metalcore elements, which took me by surprise, and I've got to say I wasn't a big fan of. So I'm going to be optimistic here and hopefully I will enjoy it. So number 10 on this list, Oceans. The album is called Happy, and they're not to be confused with The Ocean from Germany or that Finnish industrial black metal band And Oceans. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that is a word that's in use in extreme metal in various other bands, but this is just one word, plural, and no, they're not a gent band. And that concludes the list for Friday, the 27th of September, 2024. I hope you enjoy the picks that I've put on this list. And hey, you might not like all of them, but it's well worth giving them a try anyway, isn't it?